Hey guys, so 2 months ago, almost to the day, I injured my shoulder pretty severely. Now some of you might have heard me talk about a shoulder injury before when I had surgery. Well, this is the other one, so this is a whole new ball game. And I thought it would be great to share the story how I rehabbed it, got back to bench pressing, and avoiding shoulder surgery. Something that you can do for either a shoulder injury or any other injury that you might occur. Check it out. Okay, before we jump into this, let me just say I'm not a physical therapist. If you have a serious injury, go see professional medical attention. Okay, that said, I'm going to take you through 6 things that I did to get me from point A to point B and rehab this injury. So the first thing is recognize the injury occurred. Okay, let me start by talking how it even happened because some of you might not know or would like to hear. So basically what happened was I was bench pressing, everything went fine, had a great bench session, feeling good. And then I went into incline bench press, incline barbell bench press. And this is an exercise I've avoided over the years. Okay, there's a hint. And I decided to try it out again. And I was going light and just felt a really good stretch, really good stretch. Well, obviously probably too good of a stretch. And on my last set, of course, because I shut it down after that, I felt a pop and some pain, and I lost all strength in that side. In fact, I had to dump the bar. Thankfully, it was lightweight, so not a big deal. But right away, I knew that it was injured, and I was smart enough to back away and not injure it further. So if something went wrong, I was at least smart enough to know, okay, hey, Irwin, stop. So step number 1 is recognize the injury. Okay, step number 2 is immobilize it, ice it. Basically, in this 48 hours after I hurt it, my main goal was to bring the inflammation down, control the pain, which if anybody's had a shoulder injury or talked to somebody who has, sleeping is horrible. So trying to get some sleep, and again, not further injure it. So immobilize things. I actually got my shoulder sling out from my prior injury, and I put that in. I put my shoulder in a sling just to keep it immobile. So for the 48 hours, it was just rest it, ice it, and get that inflammation down. Step number 3 is discovery. So after the first 48 hours, got the inflammation down and pain is a little bit more controlled, started to look at what can I do or what can't I do. And this is when I went out and sought professional help and went to a physical therapist. Rachel Bump, she's here in Iowa at Mercy and Ankeny. I'd highly recommend her. And she took me through a series of tests, range of motion, strength tests, just to see, what I could do and what limits I had. So based on that, she prescribed some specific, for me, rotator cuff exercises that I can incorporate and do on a daily basis to help that heal. In the meantime, I was also discovering what else could I do? How could I work around this injury? How could I work my other body parts, my other movements? And also, what could I still do for my chest, my shoulder, my triceps that still allowed me to train those specific body parts and avoid the ones that were irritating it? So doing this discovery period, it took about a 2-week time frame and being very careful, very, very conservative, because again, don't want to injure yourself worse. But I was able to find, okay, now I have a solid group of movements and exercises that I can do as I'm rehabbing this injury. Okay, now that we've got discovery done, we know what we can do. Step number 4 is progression. So like I mentioned at the beginning, I injured this doing incline presses. So it was kind of a no-brainer that I wasn't going to be doing incline work. So I immediately started doing decline stuff for my chest specifically, and started experimenting there. I was able to do some decline flies on the cable, some decline push-ups, and then I progressed up from there. So again, specific to the bench press, after doing those cable crossovers, those push-ups, I started using decline dumbbells, and then from there, I was able to do a decline bench press. From there, went into pin press, went into floor press, and then testing myself with the bar, and then going finally into bench press when I felt like I had mastered and conquered all those other movements So then that way, when I did test myself, I was in a good spot and felt confident about what I was trying. So the fifth step I did in this injury rehab was testing. Now, after I had figured out, what movements I was able to do safely, I would progress in those, and about every 2 or 3 weeks, I would test myself just to see if I was ready to take that next step. Now, keep in mind, I'm going higher reps. For me, that's like set to 20 on those exercises, so it forced me to use lighter weight. But I would test things to see, okay, can I conquer this? Do I own this movement? Can I progress to the next thing? There were a few times I would take an empty barbell and just try to see if I could do a bench press, and it was a no-go. I mean, I literally couldn't push it. So, I was like, okay, that's a sign I wasn't ready yet. So, and again, about every 2 to 3 weeks, if something was feeling good, I would say, okay, time to test it and move on to the next thing and make sure that I owned it before I moved on to the next progression. Okay, step number 6, and that's prevention. So throughout all this process, I kept going back to Rachel, my physical therapist, and she kept giving me progression exercises specifically to my rotator cuff, and finally got to the point where I was able to bench press. Now, is my shoulder 100% completely better? No, there's some damage there, and it's probably not going to be like it was perfectly before. Not that it was perfect before, but you know what I mean. By keeping my rotator cuff strong, being smart, using good technique, good mobility, good range of motion, and being conservative, I should be able to continue to progress there. But the key there is to do all those things. Keep that rotator, again, specific to my shoulder, keep that rotator cuff strong and healthy, so then that way I minimize the chance of further injuring it down the road. Hey guys, thanks for watching this. I hope that you took something away from this video, how to, if you are injured, to maybe rehab something, or just to look down the road in case something does happen, the steps that I took to avoid surgery and to continue to move forward. If you like this video, please like it, share it with others, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you have any questions on coaching, nutrition, programming, feel free to message me. You can see that in the description below. I'll also put a link of some of my prior videos and a link to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, keep making every day count. We'll talk to you guys soon.